steering wheel. Somebody tell him to give it to me.
There's something loose between my legs.
I don't know. Let's go!
I'm heavier than a freaking boat.
Nothing he's could say could make that any better.
No more radio for the rest of the race.
I'm going home.
Hello and welcome to DRS FC and F1 podcast by some soccer nerds. I am a soccer nerd. My name is André Carlisle and I have two soccer nerds with me. Deepti, how are you?
André, I'm pissed. I'm heated.
Yep. Good energy. Yep. We're going to use that throughout the episode. Donald, how are you?
McLaren, come here. Sit right there. Yeah.
Yep.
It's time.
Yep. Yep. So this is the QATAR review, in case you haven't figured that out yet. I'm just going to give you the results. Really just the podium. Sprint race, Oscar won. He was looking comfortable in the first practice session, looked comfortable in that race, won it, looked comfortable the entire time, no stress at all, got off the mark in the sprint, never got caught, was good. George finished second. Lando finished third. Max finished fourth. In the Grand Prix, things changed a little bit, and we'll talk about why. Max won the race. Oscar was second. Carlos Sainz got on the podium. He was third, and then Lando was fourth after Kimi had a little squirrely moment, which we'll also talk about. Basically, all right, the reason why we're all pissed and the reason why we're all eager to talk right now is because McLaren did something real stupid. So let me just set the table for people who don't know. For sometimes in random tracks, Pirelli, the tire manufacturer for F1, will just decide to do something weird and F1 will be like, yep, that's a great idea. So they said in this race, the Grand Prix, you could only do a maximum of 25 laps on a tire. Okay? So there were 57 laps in the entire race.
The reason why they did is because I guess in the very first session before the sprint qualifying, before the sprint, they have sampling of different tires and they showed that some of the tires were far degraded more than they thought, like at what they considered to be a dangerous level. So they said, okay, these tires are not going to go 50 laps. They can only go 25. So let's cap it. Yeah.
So they capped it, which is something random that they do. They don't really do this in any other race. The only time we saw some kind of artificial stuff like this was Monaco, where they said you had to stop twice. So, and we all know what happened in Monaco. But they said you only do 25 laps maximum. Doesn't matter what tire you put on. It's only doing 25 laps, and that's it. So 57 lap race, which meant you were going to have to stop twice. That was it. There was a wreck between Pierre Gasly and Nico Hülkenberg, which we can talk about on lap 7. You're thinking, hey, Andre, you just said there were 57 laps in this race. That seems to be some easy math, right? You put the tires on, you do 25, you get to that 25th, you get to lap 32, and then you put the tires on, and then you go. Or whatever. My math is wrong, but y'all know what I mean. Y'all know where I'm at on that, all right? Basically, you only had 50 laps that you needed to worry about after that incident. McLaren were the only team not to pit. They did not take advantage of the safety car that came out after Gasly and Hülkenberg got into their accident. Therefore, they basically committed themselves to stopping 3 times, which meant they were going to have to make up about a 24, 26 second advantage so that they could overcome having to pit an additional time. Why didn't they stop? Apparently, they didn't want to favor one driver over the other. And they framed it under the umbrella of, oh, we just want flexibility. That's it. That's all you need to know. Deepti, please talk about McLaren and this stupid-ass decision.
Papaya rules? No, papaya drools. I hate them. They're a stupid strategy. This was a strategy disaster class. Immediately, safety car, like you said, it's easy math. 50 laps. If you're only allowed to do 25 laps. Well, which, first of all, I didn't really understand that all types of tires had to be 25. I thought it would be okay, soft tires, 25, medium a little more, hard a little more. Maybe the math was too difficult for that. But either way, it seemed easy. I don't understand this whole flexibility thing. Even the commentators were like, I would take the easy pit stop over flexibility because then you're all on the same page again. And now you have to make it up, like André said. It was just a stupid call, and at that moment, they were chasing Max always. They lost it from then on. And also, I guess that was like one mistake. And then the second mistake was at the end in Oscar's second stop, putting hard tires on instead of softs for the last like 15 laps, which I don't think they've explained. I haven't found an explanation. I don't really understand it. It's like they didn't even trust the softs to go that far, but like why? I don't know. But if he was on soft tires, Max was on hard for the last stint, he maybe could have reached, because he went from, what was it? I don't remember, 20 something seconds behind to like 8 seconds behind in about 15 laps. So he was a drop, like gaining a second per lap, but he probably would have gained like maybe like a second and a half per lap with the soft tires, and could have potentially reached and had like a battle for P1 with Max towards the end. But especially as like an Oscar fan, this race was so frustrating because he was doing everything right and doing everything correctly. And like even the pit crews had really good stops this time. I initially thought, okay, they didn't come in under the safety car because they don't trust their pit crew for the double stack because their pit stops have been kind of shit lately. Fine. And, they didn't even trust the double stack later on. Oscar pit 1 lap before Lando, before he reached like the 25 lap cap. And so I kind of get that, but like not even trying to pit under safety car, like come on. It just seems like, in hindsight, yeah, we can say that would have been the better move, but even in real time, that should have been an easy decision. I don't get it.
That's the thing. In real time, it's almost always, if you see a safety car come out, oh, this is your chance for a free pit stop. All right, save some time on your pit stop, get those tires off. You have to use 2 compounds unless it's a wet race. You have to use 2 compounds, so you automatically get a free stop, get those tires on, and then you can figure out the rest of your strategy from then on. But because of this 25 lap limit per tire, it made all the sense in the world. Like if this had happened on like lap 5, right? And like Gasly and Hulkenberg hit on lap 5. Damn, now that makes things weird, right? Because now everybody's going to probably be committed to a 3 stop, and maybe you'll see, right? Maybe you do stay out. But it was the perfect lap. 7 minus 57 is 50. 25 times 2 is 50. I'm not an engineer. I don't understand how that got so complicated. Donald, please help.
You remember as a kid, all of our parents would be like, hey, if all your friends jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you go too? In this case, the answer is yes. Yes, I would have to, because that's what you should have done. And it's not even just the math making sense with regards to the lap numbers. It's the time, right? If you go pit during a yellow flag, you're losing roughly 10, 11 seconds. On a normal stop, you're losing 20 to 25, maybe even 30 seconds, depending on how we've seen McLaren have some slow stops, right? So that was a factor. They had some decent stops with it, but they lost just by skipping the yellow flag and the opportunity to come in and only save themselves some time. They wasted a full minute because they had to come in twice under normal speeds, and every single time, all they had to do was watch the rest of the grid just pass them by. I don't understand it. Deepti, I'm glad you brought up the other part where they put hards on at the end instead of softs. I was yelling at the TV at that. Like everyone in the bar I was at was like, you have less than 15 laps and you have a tire that is designed to go max speed, warp speed, ludicrous speed for like 12 to 15 laps. Why wouldn't you do it? And like you said, it would have made it where that would have been a bit of a competition towards the end, or at least like racing to catch them, and you could kind of see that was possible with those tires. And instead, they decided to go with the hard tires like everybody else. And I'm like, okay, you just neutralize yourself. Mm-hmm. And I said this at the bar. I wonder if Buffalo Wild Wings pushed the button. Like, hey, there's one more week. We got Abu Dhabi. We don't need y'all to be settling stuff right now. Like, we got one more week. Just let it go. Let this race go. And it felt like that's what McLaren did. Like, to the credit, it just felt like McLaren was like, we're not really going to catch him, and he's not going to catch us in the standings. So, like, let him go. We'll get the second. We'll get the 4th or 5th. And I mean, even at the end, it took Kimi Antonelli, speeding, messing up very late for Lando to pass him. So they could have really lost points if everyone was driving the way they were supposed to and staying within the grid. I mean, This is just asinine by them. I don't know what they were thinking. And if they bottle this next week, they will wish they had these 12 seconds. They really will. It's going to be something that's going to haunt them for the rest of their days. McLaren is not going to be known as the team that just dusted everybody in the constructors. They're going to be known as the team that bottled not one, but two drivers in the Drivers' Championship that were leading the entire year until the very last race. I
also think that decision maybe was made once Lando lost his spot to Max at the first turn. I almost think that maybe if the two of them were ahead of Max, if Lando was ahead of Max at that point, maybe they would have called them in. But because he was behind, I feel like this is a point, like they don't say that they're ever favoring one driver, but I think this shows that they are kind of favoring Lando because he would have been the second in the double stack. He would have lost a little bit more time than Oscar would have, and he would have gone, a little bit even farther back. Whereas if he was ahead of Max at that point, he could have kind of wrapped up or Max would have been out of the championship. He wouldn't have wrapped up without a win, I think. But either way, now, given how it did end, it's still now all in Lando's hands, and all he has to do is beat Max. Because he had already lost that position by turn one, because we all know how poorly Lando does head-to-head against Max, I think that decision was made for the McLaren strategists unofficially already, that they were going to do everything they could really to help Lando. And they never say it, they never will say it, but you can tell by certain actions that they are definitely favoring him. And I think that's partially why they didn't have them go in under the safety car as well.
Also they had the part you're talking about them favoring Lando. We've talked about this all year. We almost feel like we're beating a drum and everyone's like, no, they're trying to gaslight us. But no, there was more instances of this happening. Remember when Oscar Piastri won the sprint and we're like, oh, maybe everything's okay. Zach Brown went past him to Lando and started celebrating with Lando, and he was like, right, my other driver won. Let me go holler at him first. When Piastri was first in qualifying for the GP, you see Zach Brown walk past him and almost fully past him before he realizes, wait, nope, Oscar is first. Let me congratulate him first. And he gave him a quick dap and then went and started yucking it up with Lando. And guys, Stevie Wonder can see what's happening here, and he doesn't watch racing, or maybe he does. But I think the idea here is that they have a case where they're trying to get Lando this championship, but then they try to save face by saying, "Oh no, it's both drivers are going for it." And if they had decided this before the start of the season, we probably would have had a champion by now, because that's how far these two drivers were ahead. But instead of them playing wishy-washy, having dumb strategies, messing up entire races, getting DQ'd last week, these are all errors of them being shooting themselves in the foot. And I feel like they're almost out of bullets. But Max is here coming, and if Max gets this title, that's all that's going to be remembered. And they're going to basically be remembered as that team that just completely fumbled. It's not even a 3-1 lead in the playoffs. This is an 8-1 lead in the playoffs that they're fumbling right now.
So I'm so glad that y'all brought up the bias that feels like is against Oscar Piastri, because I am getting upset too. People acting like we're dumb, right? They're like, oh, McLaren's a team that's based in this country. Their CEO is American. Their team principal is not an English dude. Stop it. Stop it. You know what McLaren is. You know what they stand for. You know what we know what McLaren is as a car brand. Okay. That matters. All right. So it doesn't matter who individually, what nationality everybody in the team is. McLaren as a brand has their identity, has their roots in England. Yes, Bruce McLaren was a New Zealand dude. Doesn't matter. McLaren is a British automobile manufacturer. We know this, okay? They make dope cars. I love them, actually. But they keep trying to gaslight us and say that they don't want Lando to win. Okay. I've been all right, okay? I haven't known a ton about the inner workings of F1. I dove into this deep a couple years ago, all right? So I get it. I haven't been here for decades, but I am so sorry. This looks so clear to me All right. We have heard if you qualify first, you get the first call on pit strategy. What the fuck happened to that? Right? Oscar should have been like, okay, is Max pitting? Everybody else pitting? What? Or not even that. Let's do the math. This is lap 7. We got to pit 2 other times. Sure. Absolutely. I would much rather do 2 pit stops than 3 in this race. I won the sprint comfortably. Why in the world would I put myself at a disadvantage for no reason? It doesn't make any sense. They didn't even give him the option. So I don't understand that. The whole deal at Monza, very weird in terms of giving spots back and all of that. Every single time, it's Oscar who loses the points. Every single time, it's Oscar. The only time Lando lost points was when the engine blew up. That's it. Every other time, it's Oscar who's losing the points, who's conceding the position. It's getting very frustrating. And you look at what happened now. Lando still in a good position. He's leading the Drivers' Championship. He's leading it by 12 points. Max is number 2, not Oscar. That's the part where they really messed up because Oscar should be right behind him. Like if you add up all the points that Oscar has had to concede, he would either be right there or he'd be close. Like that Lando finishing so low would have probably got him in second place and had Oscar in the lead going to Abu Dhabi. And then even from a car design perspective, remember when Lando was struggling and they were like, we got to figure out something with this suspension. We got to give Lando the feel back in the car. So they came with this upgrade, right? And Lando all of a sudden was like, all right, perfect. I feel much better. And he went on a little bit of a run. Remember when Oscar was going through his little bit of his little struggle third season just a couple weeks ago? He had that little like low grip tracks and all of that. They were like, it's just him. He can't cope with these low grip tracks. They didn't even try to help the man. They're just like, oh, that's on him. He got to get better. They didn't say an upgrade is coming. They didn't do nothing. They weren't saying, yeah, sorry, he's just not getting the sensation in the car that he needs. They didn't make any tweaks to help him out, but they changed the entire production of the car and what they were doing with it to suit Lando so he could get back in the game. I'm sorry. You add all those things up, and it really looks like, to me, they really want Lando to win this thing and not Oscar. And if I was Oscar, like after this race, he said he was speechless. Yeah, I'd say that too, because I'm sure if he got, give me the Oscar uncut radio. That's what I really want, because I'm sure he wasn't really speechless.
So I'm glad you brought this part up, because this question might be better suited to be answered when we do the preview for Abu Dhabi, but it begs asking now. Because when you mentioned all the points, if you add up all those points that Oscar has basically had to give up, I'll tell you, he would be in first place right now. And what Lando knows that apparently even his own team doesn't is that being in first, entering the final race of the season, is the best position you want to be. The number of scenarios that are, if he finishes first, second, third, he wins. If he finishes fourth and fifth, like he still can win all the way down. He can not get points and still win this championship if things happen. So it asks the question, what is McLaren going to do? Because traditionally, if you are in first place entering the final race of the season, your team is doing anything and everything to make sure that you are first at the end of the last race of the season. But the person who is right behind him is his teammate, who wants to win this and is not going to defer. This is the problem that has been building all season long, that is now finally going to take a head at the moment that they need it the most. And this is why Max is sitting there like, let him fight. Let him do your thing, McLaren, because he's now won 3 in a row, because they've been fumbling every part of this all season. It's now starting to show itself.
I wish those motherfuckers would ask Oscar Piastri to help Lando Norris in the final race of the season.
Because you know they're going to.
Right.
I ask billionaires for $1 billion all the time. I know the answer is no, but you can't ball if you don't play, right? Like,
I'm curious if they do, actually. I don't know if they will, because there was a video that surfaced recently from a few weeks ago. I forget which race it was after, but it was the one where Lando was then, after that race, 1 point ahead of Oscar in the championship. And Zach Brown is being interviewed, and he was like, I would much rather the other guy, like the third guy, aka Max in this situation, win and beat us by 1 point than to have to choose between one driver and tell them that one of them has to help the other and that they can't fight. So it seems like he's okay with them just doing it and like potentially neither of them getting it. And then Max getting it, which to me, I mean, honestly, I think it is like a tricky situation as a team principal because you have two really good drivers and they both do deserve a championship and both really want it, obviously. So I'm not going to say that one decision is right over the other. I'm going to be pissed either way. What somebody's a loser. There's obviously they can't all be winners in this. And the only way they would have been like it would have been better is if they had made this decision back, like maybe not even at the beginning of the year, but let's say like even halfway through the season, if they decided, okay, we are picking a number one driver, we wouldn't have this issue. But now coming down to this, there is definitely going to be someone who is really mad between Lando and Oscar or both. Like both, there's a chance that both of them will be pissed at McLaren, and it won't necessarily be their fault. It's just the whole strategist's fault.
I'm so glad you brought that quote up because in hindsight, that quote sounds like we want Lando to win. If Lando can't win, Oscar ain't winning. That's what it seems like because they got Oscar like completely shafted. Like Max is ahead of him, and at one point, Oscar had over 100 points. A 100-point lead over Max.
Yeah.
That is absurd. And yes, Oscar did some dumb stuff. He didn't have his best driving. There were some tracks that he wasn't great at. Again, I think they could have helped him out a little bit more, but there weren't tracks that he was good at. He ended up crashing. He talked about that Monza incident and how it really got in his head and he ran into a wall. Like he really needed to stay steady throughout the course of a couple races. Like he had some bad results. And that's how he like coming away with races with like no points. Yeah, that's one real quick, easy way to get somebody back in it. But still, I think there were other ways and other things he was asked to do outside of that. There, he was like, "Oh, I'll play the team game, sure." And when it came down to this race, where he could have gotten close, like just imagine he wins this race, Lando finishes where Lando finishes. Think about it. We got two McLaren scrapping for the title, and if they can't scrap well and figure out how to do it cleanly, Max is behind him and he wins. That scenario would have been fantastic. Now the only scenario we have is if McLaren fuck this up again, Max is winning and y'all look like clowns. I don't care if you got over what is it, 800 points or whatever in the constructors. I don't care. It doesn't matter. We ain't looking at that. We're looking at how much you clown this drivers' championship, made a mockery of it, and now you got one of your drivers pissed off because he could have had a Grand Prix win this weekend. He was dominant this entire weekend. And you could have both your drivers pissed off if none of them win the drivers' championship. You had a dominant car. There's no reason Max should still be in this with one race to go. It is so stupid.
And entering this race, you have what you just talked about. McLaren is going to be like, okay, we got two drivers going for it. Neither is going to help the other. Max has all of Red Bull and Racing Bulls behind him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got three other drivers on the grid who, in theory, could help tie this thing up. And
maybe even more than that, because we always talk about some of the other drivers who just get out of his way.
Right. They have that, like, who's to say that, Max is sitting there and, like, Carlos is there, like, hey, Carlos, you got fifth already. Like, if it came down to it, you just, and I'm not saying Carlos would, but like those questions can be asked for every other team on the grid. They're not going to do it for McLaren. They may do it for Max. We've seen kind of that happen before, but at least you have three drivers who might be instructed to. And so that's the difference here.
Listen, do not let Fernando Alonso qualify in front of Oscar Orlando because that motherfucker is holding everybody up. He's like, nope, I'm the school bus. Everybody behind me. That one lane road. Everybody behind me. He's loves
go
doing
12 miles an hour.
He's done it the entire season. If you're stuck behind him, you're just gonna be behind him the entire race, and it doesn't even matter. Like I oh my god, the scenario is just like making me so mad because if just one little slip, and that Aston Martin's been kind of quick in qualifying. Yeah. They can't do nothing in the race, but it's kind of quick in qualifying. If he can get that car up at like P5 or something, Ugh.
That's what pissed me off more about this race specifically too, is that they know this track is so hard to overtake on. There's like
Yeah.
one spot, and that's at turn one. And so the fact that they didn't even, still going back to like putting the hard tires on Oscar, there's no chance they would have thought he would have been able to make up that, even with like fresher hard tires than Max, because he really would only have that one chance every lap to like once he got close enough, one chance every lap to overtake. And no, that near impossible task.
Yeah, I honestly could not believe how like it's such an elementary mistake, and it had such ramifications for the drivers championship, which, I mean, if you're a neutral, this is amazing. You're going into the last race of the season. You got 3 drivers within 16 points, and you never know what can happen. There can be another engine failure. There could be some scrap in between them, and maybe somebody gets knocked off the road. Maybe somebody DNFs. Like there are so many things, a slow pit stop. There are so many things that could change it within the race. Like the race itself is going to be fascinating, but the fact that we're here is only because of McLaren's stupidity. And that's what makes it so frustrating if you've been following throughout the entirety of the season. Okay, let's take a quick break. We're going to try and not yell so much in this next one. And when I say we, I mean me, because I think we're going to talk about Ferrari. All right, welcome back. You know what? Because there's been too much yelling already on the podcast, which is, again, it's on me. I'm not blaming Deepti or Donald on this one. I've had this in me for a long time. All right, I've been so upset about how that race went that I was like, as soon as I get near a microphone, I'm just going to scream for 20 minutes. So apologies to your eardrums. Let's start off with something cool. Carlos Sainz, second podium of the season. Now, we're not going to talk about the fact that he has more podiums than Lewis Hamilton does on a Ferrari. We're not going to mention that, all right? We're not going to talk about him going to fucking Williams and getting on the podium before Lewis Hamilton does in a Grand Prix. We're not going to mention that. What we're going to do is celebrate Carlos Sainz because this is really cool.
Did you see the question that he was asked? Someone was like, "Oh, like, what does it speak to you, about some of the issues that Ferrari's having?" And he goes, "That is what I think Americans call that none of my business." Like, the frog with the T. I'm the frog with the T right now. And the guy's like, "I don't know that meme." He's like, "Well, it's a meme. I'm the frog. I drink tea. That's none of my business." Like, he had to explain this meme, and the guy was like, "Okay, I think I got it." He's like, "I don't think you do. I'm telling you, it's not my business." But no, he wraps up 5th for Williams, which is incredible considering how terrible Williams was last year. That is what he came to do. Funny enough, I don't know if you guys saw the question. I think it was asked in Vegas. So some lady asked, "Hey, are you going to apologize for lying to us about not getting any podiums?" And he was like, "I'm sorry that I was better than I thought I was." She was at the bar yesterday that I was at watching F1, which is pretty funny. To hear her call out numbers for a raffle and know, like, "Oh, I know that voice is familiar."
Wow.
But it's crazy to think that Williams could be a contender in this next year, right? Like, Albon is probably the guy that needs to step up the most, but they're not going to be satisfied with podiums, a couple podiums next year. They're going to aim for more podiums, and maybe Carlos trying to win a couple of these things with these new regs. I'm really happy for him that he took what was a difficult situation for him and basically being forced out of Ferrari, not through any ill will, but because Lewis was coming in, and to go over to Williams after what felt like everybody courting him, to go to Williams and take on that project and get behind James Voles and understand what their mentality was and bring his expertise, his great driving skill, and turn that into a couple of great nights along the way. And it's not like it was just 2 nights out of 20. Like, he's been steadily getting points most of the season. He's the reason why, and him and Albon have also had some moments where they both have gotten points. So the fact that they're sitting in 5th with a race to go and really like very satisfied with that, considering how far down they were last year, it's incredible for him, and I'm really happy for him.
So I feel like I don't know Williams' social media person, but Carlos Sainz explaining memes need to be like a running series. I need that
Uh-huh.
for the rest of the season and also next season. As long as he's at Williams, I just need him to explain a meme a week to me because it's great. But yeah, I mean, everybody was like, "Are you sure, Williams? You sure about that? You sure? You sure? You going to Williams, huh? Williams? That's how you're gonna get your like career back on track, or at least stop the skid a little bit after dropping from Ferrari, like you said, Donald." No fault of his own. He was performing well there. He won races there. Like he was doing well, but an icon comes in and sorry, we're not letting Leclerc go, silly man. Like it's going to be you. And so he could have been real frustrated about it. I'm sure he was, but he got to work with Williams. He trusted James Vowles, and everywhere that Carlos goes just gets better. It seems like whatever he does, however he communicates with the engineer, he like speaks their language. Like he's able to tell them, okay, this is what the car is doing. Here's how to make it better. And that's a rare skill. And then you add on top of that his savviness behind the wheel, and you end up getting a Williams on a podium a couple times out of nowhere. Especially at this point in the season, we were told Williams was one of the first teams was like, yo, we ain't putting nothing else on this car. It's about 2026. We're done. That was months ago. And he ends up getting on the podium the second to last race of the season. That's just, to me, that's just incredible. So, like, I'm a big fan of his. I thought that move was really, really bold, and it's really cool to see it work out. Deepti, where do you land on this Carlos Sainz becoming a somewhat podium regular all of a sudden with Williams?
Can I just say that we've failed to do a preview twice this season, and both those times, Carlos Sainz has gotten a podium.
Is it us? Are we the problem?
So how do we inject chaos into Abu Dhabi? Are we saying we don't do a preview? Is that what we're saying? Like, no, we're gonna do a preview. We should do it.
Probably. I mean, listen, the stat.
I'm all about helping Williams out.
The stat that Deepti just gave us all the information. It's like we'd be dumb as McLaren right now. Like we have all the information we need.
Right.
We're 0 for 2 on previews, and he's 2 for 2 on podiums when we don't do a preview. The math seems simple.
We're ending our 2025 previews. We're just preparing for 2026 regs. So
Exactly. You know what? I'd be fine with that. But you know how? I mean, I think it's funny. I had kind of was like on the Williams train from the beginning because I thought, you know, I also bought into the project, and with their new Atlassian like sponsorship, they had a lot more money going into this, and I thought, you know, it just sounded good and everything. And they started off roughly. I think it's interesting that Albon kind of started a little bit hot, and Carlos had like no success in the beginning of the year, and now it's reversed a bit. It seems like we've said, Carlos has found the rhythm a bit. It's just steadily getting better each week, whereas Alex Albon has struggled a lot the last few races. So obviously next year it's going to all change, and we'll see. But I still do really like the Williams project, and I think as a whole, even looking at how they're doing in like F1 Academy, I think the whole organization is like backing the correct things and like really backing their drivers, and really like James Vowles really wants to build the company back up and the team back up to where they used to be ages ago and at the top of the table. So I am happy, really happy for Carlos. I wish him continued success, and I think it'll be really exciting to see what they can do moving forward. Like obviously they've wrapped up, like you said, 5th in constructors, so they're not really fighting for anything more coming through. It's just like now individual success. So yeah, maybe if we don't do another preview, or at least if I'm not on it, we'll see if Carlos gets something else now.
So the problem might be you.
No, I've not been on other previews, and that hasn't happened. It's if we don't do one.
All right. So we'll have to strongly consider whether we do one. We'll see. If we do one and Carlos ends up like with a DNF, our bad. But no, I agree with you, DB. Like Williams is such a historical team that it was so like they went through so many issues in their past with like near bankruptcy and all that. Like they've struggled for a long time, and it never felt right. It's almost like this iconic team is crumbling because of mismanagement and whatever else, and just being left behind. So it's really cool to see them back. And it seems like a whole, like you said, total organizational thing, which I think is really, really cool to see from F1 Academy on. It's really, really cool to see. You know what's not cool to see? The organization that is Ferrari. All right.
Mm,
What the hell is wrong with them? What is going on?
So I saw a conspiracy theory
Oh, Jesus.
that I'm fully inclined to believe that they are doing this shit on purpose so that they can get down to like fourth, which they are now clinched. They can't go to third.
Mission succeeded.
Mission succeeded. And it comes with more wind tunnel time, which they were going to use to, really, help out their 2026 thing. I'm just going to believe that because as you both can see, you out there listening I can't pull out my hair. It's all shaved. So I can't pull any more hair follicles out for this team. I just can't.
I don't even understand what they're doing. Like, we had the question again. I'm not an engineer, but in previewing the season, we had the question, oh, they're changing their entire suspension geometry. Why would they do that a year before all the regulations change? If it's to help 2026 and they're doing a lot of learning, which, by the way, if they're learning as much as you thought, you would think that would get improved at some point throughout the season, but it doesn't seem like it has. But maybe they're going to apply all the things they've learned in 2026. We'll see. I'll wait. But like in the meantime, this looks horrendous. Lewis sounds awful. He sounds worse than he did when he was with Mercedes and struggling. Like, they asked him like anything to look forward to, and he just said the weather's nice.
The weather's nice.
Oh my God, this man.
Lady was like, "What?" He was like, "The weather. It's nice."
Yeah, he said it like 3 times. It was just like, I feel so bad for him, the way this all started. And this was always the risk, right? You make a big deal out of something, 2 icons coming together. You have the picture of him, in front of Enzo Ferrari's house with the red shutters and everything. You're just thinking, yo, this is cool as shit. Like, this is awesome. I love this so much. Straight crashing down to reality. Like, I don't understand how they made it. Pierre Gasly was like, "Yo, that car looks like trash," and Lewis brought out, shows his age, right? All right, Lewis is trying to hold back. He brought out the no shit Sherlock. That's some '90s sitcom shit. I was like, Lewis, please, we're not saying that anymore. I just like Pierre Gasly been driving an Alpine all season, all right, and he's looking at the Ferrari like, ugh, Ferrari. How can that be the case?
That should be enough to get everybody in a boardroom team meeting. Everybody.
Fired. Like, I'm sorry. Everybody. I don't want to be the dude who like does the sports radio thing. Fire everybody. Everybody's terrible. Like, I don't want to do that. But like, this has been all season and it's getting worse, not better. What are they? Even the simple things like communication, like telling Lewis, oh, you got another push lap to do. Oh, you crossed the line on time. Keep going. We can maybe get ourselves out of Q1. Go. You've got even simple communication he's not getting. He asked for things on the radio, crickets. You have to try hard, super hard to fuck up as bad as they have. And I just don't see the purpose or the point. What are they do? What are they trying to prove? You juxtapose them versus like other teams. Like Red Bull shouldn't be in this, but they've been scrapping all season. They've been trying to, like, we've seen like the Red Bull Resurrection Project some weekends. Car starts off terrible, suddenly Max is on the podium. They go through that progress. And you see it. We just talked about Williams and how good they've been. Sauber, you see them getting on podiums, getting into Q3, picking up consistent points. That's great to see. You see Haas have their up and downs, but Haas has even improved quite a bit. Like, there's a very interesting mid-table, like midfield battle that's happening because a lot of other teams are really showing improvement in how they run. Ferrari is going the opposite direction of all of those teams, and it's infuriating.
Well, okay, first of all, to Donald's point about the more wind tunnel time, I just want to know how much wind tunnel time that is. Because is that really worth just like having your drivers feel defeated all year and like ruining the mental health of your drivers? Like, come on, you're Ferrari. Even if you have 1 place less worth of wind tunnel time, that should make a difference. But you're right. It's so sad to hear Lewis after every like qualifying session, after every race, he literally just sounds so dejected and tries to like laugh it off and doesn't even have any answers. He's like, well, it's the same as every week now. I just really hope that the reset next year goes for the better, and like, it really can't get much worse than this though, to be honest. So And I don't want to jinx anything, but
They'll find a way.
Yeah. Well, they'll find a way. You're right. It's also, I think, frustrating for him probably seeing that, like, you know, Charles, at least he was able to get into like Q3. Lewis is out in Q1 the last couple of races, even in the sprint. And so for him, it's just a step down, where the car has never clicked for him. There was just that one sprint race where it went okay and podiumed, but that's it. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, hopefully it can only go up from here for him specifically, because there's really no more now. He's just, let's get this last race over with and let's start over.
You know why? Like, it seems like Charles's motto with Ferrari is just like, don't try. Like, don't try to force him. Like, Lewis, he keeps trying. And so the car keeps getting worse, because Lewis even did this at Mercedes. He was just like, oh, nah, let's try this downforce package. You give me this wing, put it on here. Like, Lewis wants to like build the car himself. Like, he's doing all this stuff to try to like solve it, figure it out. And Charles is just like, man, just drive whatever they give you. Like it's not, you asked him to do anything else and it's just going to get worse. So just go, like, did y'all see his onboard on the this is a smooth track. This track is for motorcycle racing. It's a lot of high speed turns. This is not a track where you need to be like yanking the steering wheel around, right? He was fighting the hell out of that car. It was like that thing had a mind of its own, and he was just over here wrestling it from like the first lap on. It was brutal to watch his onboard. It is tough because it looks like that thing was, he spun. He straight up spun around once on the track, but like it seemed like that was going to happen every single time he turned the wheel at speed. It was so rough. And I don't know, Donald, what else?
The idea is this, right? When he showed up, you know, if you're a frog and you're in water and it keeps getting hotter and hotter and hotter, you don't jump out because you don't know that it's hot. You don't know it's too hot, and then it's boiling. All of a sudden, you're done, right? But if you're a frog, you put the frog in hot water, they're like, bitch, let me get up out of here, right? That was him. He arrived at Ferrari and said, hey, guys, I know you just finished second, but your car is basically, you know, toothpicks and Pinewood Derby wood. Like, let me help you fix it. Now he's become the frog in the water. Like, and now it's just, you can see the 1,000-yard stare of, I've tried everything and it's getting worse. I don't know what else to do. That's what's the most infuriating for us Lewis fans, is that it's clear that he knows what to do, but it almost like he doesn't trust Ferrari to do it, and they're not going to do it anyway. So why even bother? So that's why he's like, oh, what, like, someone's like, you know, just the interviews that he's giving where he's giving these melancholy answers. I'm like, y'all have made an 8-time world champion feel like he's just a rookie who has been isolated by his own, you know, classmates. Like, you need to get that man happy again. To do that, he needs a better car, and he needs Ferrari to stop fucking around and do the work that's necessary to get this car going. Now, maybe we're setting ourselves, like, in the spirit of F1 the movie, maybe we're setting us up for some Sonny Hayes magic in Abu Dhabi. I hope so.
Don't.
No, I you know what? I'm gonna play Delulu Ion for 14 seconds. I hope so, because I want that man to be happy, if only for a night. I would like to ask, in the spirit of Christmas, for Ferrari to give him one night of happiness. I'm not asking for him to win the thing. I'm just asking for him to be in a position where he can say, that was a good race, good job, team, everybody did well. He can't even do that anymore. He's just like, he's abandoning laps because he knows what the score is. They're not telling him when he has laps. It's just a whole thing they need to figure out in the off season, because this is probably going to be the longest off season of his life, because he has to figure out how to get on the same page as them, and Ferrari needs to figure out how to get on the same page as the guy who was destroying them for years and is now on their team and is trying to tell them what he did to destroy them all those years, and all they've done is destroy him.
Yeah, I what I want them to do is focus on 2026. I don't care if they end. I don't care if they double podium in Abu Dhabi. Don't do that, because it's gonna piss me off. Is what it's gonna do, because y'all go, oh, you're gonna wait until the last race of the season. Now that you're secured a fourth, you tumbled from second to fourth. Williams is behind you. Like, so annoying. But like, and I'm sure like Lewis is probably very annoying behind the scenes. that's a dude who's won a lot of races. He's not used to this shit. Like, yes, his last year at Mercedes wasn't great, but it was like, that was astonishing that it wasn't great. But like, you're going into a new regulation set, which seems like it might help him a little bit. Like he shouldn't hate those cars as much as he hates these. So it looks like there might be an opportunity for him to get back to looking like his best, but he can't do it if he's like depressed every single weekend. Like, so like, and yes, you're going to hire, you brought this dude in who's going to have his own way of being like, I know what works. And maybe he does, right? Maybe this is like a Tom Brady, Bill Belichick thing, right? Maybe he's Belichick, maybe he's Brady. We don't know yet, right? Because one thing I can tell you, Ferrari ain't neither. So like that's the problem that we have. Like we can't even tell who is who because they're neither, and we don't know what's going on right now. It's really, really frustrating. And I really hope that all this like suffering that he is doing, that we are doing, it comes like it's worth it when he's winning races again in 2026. But at this point, I can't see it at all.
So I have a question for you. What would happen if, for just, again, hear me out, for just 1 minute, this guy gets on a run and in Abu Dhabi, he's on a generational tear with the old Lewis, climbs all the way to like third, maybe second place, and he's fighting off the McLarens. Which one do you think he hits with this car since it's the last week of this car? Does he hit Lando or does he hit Oscar?
Oh, I think he's taking out Lando easy. Because Lando's the one who told. Remember what Lando said? Oh, when you have the car, it's real easy. Like you should be winning. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's gonna be real easy when I ram this car that sucks up your ass. It's the last week of these cars too. So he's like, last day of school. I don't need these notes. Throw them in the air. Exactly. Toss this car in the trash.
Listen, Donald, I'm still on Delulu Island with you, but my bags are packed and they're at the dock and they're ready to go. But it's like the Midwest exit, right? We wait at the door. I'm waiting at the dock.
Yeah, that or later. All right, then. Yeah. Let me get up out of here.
I'm right there. I'll leave after this race, but they're gonna make me leave until something happens.
You know what I want them to let Lewis do for all of his frustrations? What I want them to do is have him be able to line that car up, get outside of it, aim it straight at a wall, just put a brick on the throttle and just go smash that thing. Let him get his frustration out on that car because it's been the worst thing he's driven in years. And that
with DRS on it.
Take a sledgehammer to it.
Oh yes, go straight Street Fighter on it. Like you whatever you can do to this car within like 3 minutes, do it. All right, you've deserved this, and I want to watch it. I want to watch
Office Space style.
Exactly. Okay. We got one more thing to talk about before we take another break and then we're going to do a quick review of the Drivers' Championship because that is interesting, thanks to McLaren, and the Constructors' Championship because, yes, the top spot is secure and even the second spot, I believe, is secure. Actually, yes, it is. Nope, it's not secure. The fourth spot is secure. The fifth spot is secure. We'll get into it, whatever. We'll make it make sense. And we got to do our Zoomy and Gloomy Boys at the weekend. But I do want to talk about it, and in this part of this part of the podcast with this, Helmut Marko opened his stupid ass mouth again and said something stupid because that's what people with stupid ass mouths do. So we talked about it, and Lando Norris ended up getting a position late in the race. I believe it was the last lap actually, and it was because Kimi Antonelli got a little squirrely in one turn, went off the track, and Lando was able to pass him because he didn't go off the track. So, and Lando was trying hard to pass Kimi. Kimi was defending his ass off and I think just ate up his tires and then had no more grip. And in that track, when it's the drivers say it's like a roller coaster because you're never really throttling down much. You're always taking every single corner at high speed, except for I think turn one. So every other turn is pretty high speed. So it does eat up tires quite a bit. And Deepti mentioned that that's the reason for this 25 lap limit earlier. So it was end of the race. These tires were obviously old. He was trying to defend against the McLaren, which is a much faster car, as Oscar has showed. Not as McLaren strategy has showed, but as Oscar showed and also Lando showed as well, that throughout that weekend, he goes squirrely, Lando goes by. Helmut Marko basically says, and I don't have the verbatim quote, but he basically says that Kimi let him go right on by because Toto Wolff hates Red Bull so much that he wants to make sure that Lando has enough of a points gap so that he can win the Drivers' Championship instead of Max. It's basically what he said. And like directly, he didn't hint at it. He just basically was like, Kimi was told to do that, and that's what he did. Toto Wolff said that was stupid. And of course, because Red Bull has that thing, which always makes me a little anti-Red Bull, of they love to rile up their base. They love to get people sensing the outrage on their behalf. This goes back to Christian Horner and his printouts after the race, running around with pieces of paper like, oh, look, we were wronged. Here's a screenshot. Like all that kind of stuff. Because of that, Kimi has been receiving a lot of death threats, a lot of abuse online. And so he had to I think he changed his profile picture to black, and he's limited comments on a lot of his stuff, but there's just been a lot of hate coming his way. And of course, Red Bull puts out this stupid statement like, we were wrong. It was the heat of the moment, blah, blah, blah. But the damage is done. And you have this 18-year-old kid already getting a bunch of shit from people who love Max and Red Bull stands, getting on him about letting Lando pass. This is so infuriating because Helmut Marko is 900 years old. You should know better. All right. You open your mouth all the time. It ain't the first time he's had to apologize for something. Won't be the last time he has to apologize for something. But to do it to an 18-year-old kid, I know he's an F1 driver. All right. So it's on one hand, yes, he's a grown man. He's doing the thing. He's in the sport. You get all the good and the bad that comes with that. Nah, this is stupid because you manufactured some bullshit and it got him a ton of abuse online. And you knew that was going to happen. You knew that was going to happen when you say something that incendiary. And it's so frustrating that he's still allowed to really be around the sport and have access to microphones when clearly he doesn't know what to do with them. And he's too dangerous and too dumb to know what not to say.
One, it's so offensive to racing drivers to just say that they would just move out of the way, because we know, well, Kimi is, first of all, he's on Mercedes. He's been doing really well lately, has kind of come out of his slump, podium the last 2 times or something. And then to say he would just move out of the way for someone who's not even his teammate, I think is just, really offensive and goes against their morals and ethics as drivers. Number 2, Red Bull is the team that would ask other drivers to move out of the way. They are the only ones almost really who would do such a thing and tell their second team, which they claim it doesn't ever help them, to move out of the way. So they've done it, and he's just dissing this child. He's still a child for thinking he did something similar. Both, yeah, you're right. It's horrible. We already knew he was not a good person, and this just amplifies that.
And with Red Bull, it's funny. They had a tame 6 or 7 weeks. Not a lot of drama. Max wasn't really complaining about anybody, right? The Red Bull, because again, Horner's gone, so there's no easels or PowerPoint presentations or anything like that. But they still have to stick the fork in the electrical socket and see if electricity comes out. This is the Helmut is going to do this. And we hate him for it because he always says something that's incendiary. He says something inflammatory, and that's at best. At worst, it's racist, transphobic, homophobic, whatever. Yeah. And at the end of this is a kid who did nothing wrong other than slide off the track, right? It happens every race, multiple times. And he now has to wake up and worry about social media before, again, the last race of his first full season on the grid, where Mercedes is still fighting for something. Mm-hmm. And that's unfair. I think it's unfair for him. It's unfair for Mercedes. Now he has to answer these questions. It takes away from the success that he has had this season. And he doesn't deserve that. And honestly, neither does, to be fair, neither does Lando. Because it's not like McLaren called up old Toto Wolff yo, do your boy solid. So to Deepti's point. So I think it's dumb. I wish you could fire him out of a torpedo tube into space so we never have to hear from him again. But as long as he's around the sport, we're going to have to hear from it and react to it, because this was the newspaper regrets the error type of response from Red Bull. Oh, yeah, it already happened? Oh, my bad. He was right all along. My bad. That's stupid. That sucks. And there should be more that comes from this, but they're not. FIA is not going to do anything. They're just going to say, oh, it's just what Helmut does. that's the point. He should be gone. That's my take on it.
Yeah. Co-sign everything both of y'all said. It was trash, and he's going to continue to be trash because he's trash. Okay. All right, we're back. Let's do some a recap real quick of what's been going on with the Drivers and Constructors Championship, and then we're going to do our Zoomy and Gloomy Boy picks and then get out of here. We have gone long because there have been a lot to be angry about and rant about, and so if you're here, thank you so much for sticking around. We're not always this angry if this is one of your first listens, but we just some things happen. They pissed us off. So the Drivers' Championship right now looks like this. At the top, it is Lando Norris, 408 points in first place. Max Verstappen leapfrogged Oscar Piastri thanks to McLaren's nonsense. By the way, McLaren is the team that Oscar drives for. Max Verstappen has 396 points, so he's 12 points behind Lando. And Oscar Piastri has 392, so he is 16 points behind Lando Norris. The justice, the poetic justice, and maybe I'll save it for the preview, but the poetic justice would be Lando and Max taking themselves out, and Oscar ends up winning the championship anyway. That is the poetic justice. But there are a ton of scenarios here. I think I'm going to save these for the preview because this is like brain breaking stuff. Like we've got it down, and shout out to whoever put this in the doc, because thank you so much for doing this, Donald. Yes, you are a saint for doing this. It's everything. It's all your scenarios of how Lando, Max, or Oscar can win this thing, and it's detailed. So we'll go into it on the preview. Yeah, Donald.
Can I just say the simple thing is that Lando being, as I mentioned before, Lando being in first by 12 points means everything because he has the cleanest path to victory. If he podiums, he wins. It doesn't matter what the rest of them do. Yeah. But after that, there's a lot of math that's involved. But now I will ask, again, maybe save for the preview, but think about this. How much is Red Bull going to complain about every single little 5-second penalty on the track involving McLaren next weekend?
We might not have the final results of this race until a week after it's done.
If there's an over-under and it's set at 12, I might take the over.
Just buried in paperwork from Red Bull. Just buried in paperwork. Yeah. So congratulations to whoever wins the championship. You'll find out hopefully by Christmas. All right. Constructors Championship is a little bit more, maybe not more interesting, but certainly interesting in one phase of it. The top part of it is not interesting because that's a wrap. McLaren won it. They won it weeks ago, many races ago. They have 800 points. Mercedes and Red Bull, the battle for second is still on. Mercedes has 459 points. Red Bull has 426. So, of course, there needs to be some movement there, a really bad day for Mercedes, but it is possible for them to get no points and Red Bull to get Max on a podium, and then it's up to Yuki to get some points, and we'll see if that's possible. Ferrari is locked into fourth. They have 382 points. Williams is locked into fifth. They have 137 points. But I think if you look at the rest of it, and give me 1 second because I need to look this up for the constructor standings, because actually I think there are some fascinating opportunities in this last race for some other teams. So yes, here we go.
6 to 9.
Yeah, 6 to 9. So we're looking at Racing Bulls, Aston Martin, Haas, and Sauber. I'll start at the bottom. 9th is Sauber, 68 points. They're only 5 points behind Haas, who is in 8th. They are only 7 points away from Aston Martin, who is in 7th. And Aston Martin is only 12 points away from Racing Bulls in 6th. So that entire, I shouldn't do math on the podcast. It's a bad idea, but I think it's 24 points is the difference between 6th and 9th. That's fun. So there could be a lot of shakeup there depending on what happens there. So that is going to be interesting, and we'll talk about that more on the preview unless Carlos Sainz gives us some money. Now, there you go. That's it. We'll extort the man. We love him so much. You got plenty of money. If you want another podium, give us enough money to not do our preview.
Just
There's a
we'll
price
take
tag.
an invitation to the Spanish Grand Prix or something. Like,
Right?
You know, fair. That's true. I would love to go to Spain, and I would love to go to the Spanish Grand Prix. So yes, go ahead. Get us tickets to that. We'll do. We'll email us. Our people get in touch with your people, and we'll discuss it. And happy podium if we pull this off. Anyway, didn't think we'd get to extorting Carlos Sainz on the podcast, but there we go. Let's talk about our Zoomy and Gloomy Boys, because again, this was a very, very, very interesting race when it really probably shouldn't have been. But there, because of several reasons, this needs to be discussed. So, Deepti, want to start with you. Give me both your Zoomy and your Gloomy Boy of this race.
I'm going to say my gloomy boy, I think it's obvious, Oscar. But I also, as a side note, because I think I'm seeing it, Ebony's, and we can talk about Oscar again then. Isaac Hadjar, this poor guy, he was doing really well, especially in the Grand Prix. The sprint was like, all right, but Grand Prix, he was running in P6 up until the last like 2 laps when suddenly he got some sort of, I don't know if it was a puncture or some other damage or what it was, but he had to retire the car with 2 laps to go. So it's not even that he like dropped out like even into lower points. He just completely had to retire. So he is my gloomy boy. And it seems like from the onboard too that the engineer didn't know what was happening, because at some point like you could see a little bit of damage and like a car bit waving on the front wing, but then there was a point on the radio where his engineer was like, oh, we're good, just keep going. And Isaac's like, no, we're not good. I just saw part of my car fly off. Look at the data. So yeah, he's my gloomy boy. And then Zoomy, I think I'll give it to Kimmy. He's done well. He's, stayed pretty consistent from the success over the last couple weeks. So that's good going into the end of the season.
Fair enough. Donald, your Zoomy and Gloomy Boys.
my Zoomy is Carlos. Again, getting a podium, ensuring that Williams gets 5th in the constructors. Again, a terrific season that he's had, and there's been some. It hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows. He's had some deep moments where he's been down at the bottom, but he's fought his way back, and to get a couple podiums out of the ordeal, and as he says, lying to the people, I think is great. I think we'll all accept that kind of lying around here. My gloomy is going to be Lewis. I'm not going to belabor the point, but Ferrari, we need to fight. So report to the ring after Abu Dhabi. Get your gloves. It's time.
Yeah, fair enough. And Ebony did write in. I won't give too many peeks behind the curtain. Ebony was going to join us, and then she hopped on, and we were like, "Oh, you are like really sick, aren't you?" And we were like, "You need to go to bed." And so she's not here, but she did write in her Zoomy and Gloomy Boys. Zoomy, she says, Mr. Smooth Operator, so Carlos Sainz, and I think I got to give another nod for that as well. That I might just make him my Zoomy boy as well, because remember, he also went out there for qualifying and had that tape or plaster or something on his tire. And it was like, he was like sliding all over the place. And he was like, what is happening right now? And they're like, you got a little something on your tire. And he was able to get it off and still qualified well in that race. And then of course got on the podium. So he had that could have derailed him. Could have been a really weird moment, but he handled it well. And so I think that's great. For her gloomy boy, Ebony has all of McLaren. Everybody, staff, label, and crew, everybody associated with McLaren. Zach Brown, André, Stella, everybody. I'm going to say everybody bar. Well, no, I mean, Oscar's gloomy, but it's not necessarily his fault that he's gloomy. It's maybe his fault for not standing up before and just being like, no, I'm not doing these team orders. But you know what? He tried to play the team games. They said he's a number 1 driver, just like Lando, and he believed him. And this is what you get for trusting people. All right, now time for... I know I said I was going to do Carlos Sainz as my Zoomy and Gloom, my Zoomy boy. I'm trying to think, is there anybody else who deserves it? You know what?
Max.
I want Oscar Piastri to feel a little bit better. I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to him because even like he knows he should have won this race. This should have been a very comfortable race win for him. This track is hard to overtake on. Nobody was gonna get close to him if McLaren just does the obvious thing, which literally every other team did. Every other driver did the same thing, except for Esteban Ocon, because he had a 5-second penalty and he was just waiting to see, am I going to get this penalty or not? If I am, I'm going to do one more lap. So I then I pit and then I get to serve the penalty. That's the kind of situation you need to be in to make this a question mark. McLaren was not in that situation. They just messed it up. So I'm going to give it to Oscar because even with all of that, like we said, it was about a 26-second disadvantage that he had to make up, and he ended up finishing 8 seconds behind Max. So he made up quite a bit of time. He was driving angry, kept it on the track. Deepti, I'm with you. It would have been interesting to see how much time he could have taken out with that, with a soft tire. But also, I feel like it would have been like crumbled to pieces by like the last like 5 laps. But it would have been interesting.
If he had finished, finished first, which he probably would have had they not messed things up for him. If he finishes first and Max is second, and you do that math again,
yep,
Oscar's in second, and he has only a 9-point deficit,
yep.
Which again, all these little points here and there would have even further showed that he would have been in first place had he not played the team game. But it still would have added to these, 12, 13 scenarios that are in play for this week. He would have had a lot more room on the table to operate with regards to those scenarios.
Yeah. So, all in all, he did his damnedest to make up for McLaren's really stupid strategy decision with his, now everybody's out of options. You idiots. You absolute idiots. My gloomy boy is going to be Ollie Behrman because I'm just sad. He's been doing well, and then he has a pit stop. The light goes green. He takes off, and all of a sudden his car, it's almost like, I always wonder what would happen if you try to like drive your car off early like a Jiffy Lube when they got it like, it's not like fully down off that thing. That's basically what happened. Like it was still jacked up, I believe, or the wheel wasn't on right. I don't know exactly because I only saw his onboard. But like from the onboard, you can see like the green light goes, he takes off, and suddenly you see the car just like drop and then bounce back up and drop again, and he's like what happened? And they're like our bad. So like I don't know what they did, but they messed up his pit stop. He lost a bunch of places there and eventually had to DNF the car, and that was just really, really frustrating because I think he's another rookie who's really like, you're starting to see exactly what they have like week to week. Like Kimi, he had his struggles early, but we're able to see it now. And with Ollie, it's all about qualifying. If he can qualify well, he can pass people on track. He's really good at overtaking. He loves to do it. And he also can hold on to a position as well, even in a Haas. So like, it's really, really cool to see him do that. And I thought he was having another pretty decent race. And then all that kind of went to shit. So he is my gloomy boy. All right, we're done. That's it for our review. Unless Carlos Sainz funds a brand new life for all of us, we will be back for a preview of Abu Dhabi, where we will go through all of these permutations of how Lando can win, how Max can win the Drivers' Championship, and how Oscar can win the Drivers' Championship. We'll go through the midfield battle as well, give our predictions, and do it all. And look at the track, of course, because we always like to introduce folks to the track and let you know what to expect with that. So we'll get into all of it later on in the week. Again, unless we're all living on a yacht with Carlos Sainz. Until then, though, for Deepti and Donald, I'm André. Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.